So right now we're standing in Encinitas. We're gonna let you know, well, today it is. The answer is yes. It's a gorgeous day out here. But as a whole, is Encinitas a good place to live? We're gonna dive in, kind of pros and cons, let you know different areas, houses, what the house is like, what the vibes are like, what's there to do around here, and everything in between. So let's get into it right now.
Hello, I'm Cassidy Lewis.
And I'm Chris Erickson.
And we love making these videos for you, but we also are real estate agents here in North County, San Diego, and we would love to help with your real estate needs. So if you are thinking about moving out this way, definitely get in touch with us, call, text, email. We've got your back when moving in and around San Diego.
So what's the vibe like here in Encinitas? We're right by the coast, we're a little beach town, but it's spread out. It actually goes behind the camera here where we're looking, it like goes deep pretty far. So we'll get into those neighborhoods and such, but the vibe as a whole, one thing that I did read online, I think it was maybe niche.com, I don't know exactly where I saw it, but one of the reviews said very overrated and kind of boring. Now I'd agree with the boring part. A lot of North County is kind of boring. Like, we're standing in a greenbelt park right now, not much going on. Downtown Encinitas is where you'd have like the whole vibe, and that's like a little more action going on. But as a whole, it is surfer/beachy town, but it's also quiet and just those typical suburbs you hear about.
So like Chris said, it is kind of that beachy feel. It's more laid back than a lot of places. San Diego as a whole is very laid back. And as you get into these kind of coastal towns, it's definitely that. And if you're looking for nightlife, Encinitas is probably not the spot, but if you're looking for, quiet spots, nice, easy vibe, this is your spot.
Now hopping into some of the amenities we have right here in Encinitas. One of the biggest amenities, which you just mentioned before, the beach. There's like 6 or 7 miles of beach, of coastline here in Encinitas, and it kind of ranges. So the southern end, you have Cardiff, which we're not going to talk about much. We have other videos on Cardiff if you want to touch base on that, but Cardiff is part of Encinitas, so we're calling the beaches there the same thing. But right there, that's where you have nice, flat, long beaches. You could cruise, you could walk. As you get further up in the coast, kind of going north, it gets kind of rugged. You have like these cliffs. You have only a few access points. There's a few spots where they do have stairs going down to the beach. Moonlight Beach obviously is like the main beach, and then a few others in Leucadia. And then it doesn't get that flat kind of right off the cliffs until you get into Carlsbad. So the beaches here, you're gonna have to pick and choose. Some of them are gonna be a little harder to access, which is actually kind of cool because then you don't get all these kind of summer people cruising through there. It gets busy, obviously the main ones do, but you could find like little places of the beach that you could go and have the whole beach to yourself on certain days. Not the summer right now, which we're in, but some days, some off winter days and stuff.
One of the other amenities in Encinitas is Encinitas Ranch Golf Course. Not just the golf course. If you're not a golfer, there are really cool trails that kind of go all along that golf course and then also within that neighborhood as well. But the golf course is awesome. It's got killer ocean views from a lot of spots and ocean breeze too. So you hit into the wind a little bit in a couple spots, but it is a very fun course.
And bring your jacket. Even if it's a nice day like this, it's 72, beautiful. If you're playing a little Twilight, we did this the other day, started a little 345, actually got through the whole course, which is pretty cool. Got through all 18 holes, but towards the latter part of all those holes, it does get kind of cold. So we're throwing on, an extra little layer. Make sure you bring that because the coastal breezes. You got frozen out there one time.
Yeah. It was like sunny at my house and almost raining in Encinitas Ranch, and I almost bought a $250 jacket.
And it's a very forgiving course too. You could hit onto, play this fairway to that fairway. I mean, if you're kind of like our style golfers, you don't have to be great. That's all I'm getting at. It's a fun course, beautiful course, right in the heart of Encinitas. Another great amenity here in Encinitas is parks. We're obviously these are HOA parks, so these are not public, but public parks. Encinitas Community Park, which was built probably about a decade ago now, has one of the best skate parks in all of San Diego. Huge, big, so if you have kids that are looking to get skating, maybe you're skating too, it's usually pretty busy, but it's awesome. There's this huge like swimming pool bowl and just like a lot of little things that you could check out. But also the other side of the park, huge open grass areas. You see a lot of soccer camps and that kind of stuff going on there during certain times of the year. Baseball fields, a nice big playground for the kids. There's like trails that go around. They're just like paved kind of concrete trails. So if you want to bring them out and bike and maybe scoot around, that's pretty awesome. Or they're super small, just kind of push the stroller around. It is a super nice park to go enjoy. Parking's easy, access is pretty easy, and it's right in the heart of Encinitas. There's also a bunch of other little parks, not necessarily that big, that's definitely the biggest one, but like little pocket parks here and there. Sun Vista Park, you have a nice park over by Target. There's, what else is
Orpheus.
there? Orpheus Park, great views up there. and just have a lot of different little areas. And some neighborhoods, like I said, just have the little tiny parks too, like there's some hidden ones and stuff. So you will have plenty of those to cruise around to.
And the one last park also is Olympus Park, which is it's definitely one of the newer ones and also very popular.
They have like a zip line there. They have this big, it's like not sod, what's the fake turf, artificial turf hill that goes straight down, and you can bring some cardboard and cruise down. I mean, you could do it too, I've done it, it's fun, but the kids love it as well. Big slide, big top area, just like a big open grass space. So that's actually I almost forgot that park. That's one of the cooler parks right here in Encinitas that was like 2 years old.
One other amenity also is farmers markets. So Encinitas used to be a lot of like growing grounds, a lot of poinsettias, a lot of flowers and things like that. We're starting to see less and less of that. So it's farmers market. A lot of the stuff is coming from out of Encinitas area, but it's at Paul Ecke Elementary School every Sunday.
Yep, Sunday it is.
Yeah. And it's just a great spot. There's food vendors, sometimes music. It's just a really cool spot to check out. Some other amenities you might have if you're living in a community that has HOAs, like we are right now in Village Park. Got pools, you've got all these cool green belts that are a big part of this community. And then some of the other spots in like Encinitas Ranch and some of those other spots that have HOAs, they've got trail systems and just other amenities you can enjoy. A lot of like community events, movie nights, things like that too. So if you have kids, this next one is super important, obviously. Schools. So Encinitas is very, very well known for having a very good, very strong school district for both elementary, which is Encinitas School District, and then also for middle and high school, which is San Dieguito School District. So if you're moving here with kiddos and looking for top schools, Encinitas is definitely a spot to check out. And so the public schools here are great, like I mentioned, but there are some private schools around Encinitas also, if that's more of your jam.
And one thing about the Encinitas schools, a lot of them are within these communities, within these neighborhoods. So if you're living close to your school, you can walk there, which is great. So, or a short little drive. So some of them are kind of funky where like some schools feed into different, or some little areas feed into different schools that might be a little bit further away. It's just how the lines are drawn. But for the most part, a lot of the schools are going to be within the specific neighborhood that you're living. Now, one of the most important parts, especially if you're thinking about moving out here and buying a home, is kind of the houses, the styles. What are we looking at? Well, first off, I kind of ran today. There's 50 homes on the market right here in Encinitas. The lowest being a little two bath condo for $679,000. The most expensive being on the complete opposite spectrum of that, $13 million right on the bluff over off Neptune Ave. The average price point for all the homes for sale in Encinitas right now is right about $3.4 million. So there is some entry level where it's like that 1 to 1.5 million. Those are mostly going to be townhomes, some single family homes, but the areas that you can get a home like that now, the price is going up and stuff over the past few years, is kind of getting very slim. So you will find certain areas that do have that. New Encinitas is the area you will find some of those. Once you get to Old Encinitas or kind of the downtown area of Encinitas, a lot of those are older homes. So, which is kind of as a whole, there's not a ton of new construction here in Encinitas, except there's a few new apartment buildings, complexes. If you want to know where they are, keep up, go to, I think Coast News has a story on it where they're showing you where these apartment buildings are, because they're basically like all on one road. So a lot of people around there, it's kind of by Encinitas Ranch. I think it's Quail Gardens Road, I believe.
Well, yeah.
And there's a few going up. So there is a bunch of blowback from the community because there's only like one road feeding into there. So anyways, just as far as like moving there, be aware because it's going to add additional traffic, parking, all that kind of stuff in those specific areas. The brand new construction, the biggest project going on right now is Fox Point Farms, kind of on the border of Encinitas, or like New Encinitas and Leucadia. It's kind of right at the pinnacle of a hill, right next to Encinitas Ranch actually. So, and it is called Fox Point Farms. It's marketed as agri-hood. So on one end they're going to have like, I forget exactly how much, but a kind of like farm for that specific community, mostly townhomes out there, but they're also going to build a restaurant out there and a few other amenities within there. That's like the brand new construction. Other than that, it's not too new. You might find some places like where we just talking about Old Encinitas or Leucadia, which is another specific area where you do have an older house that somebody purchased and they basically scraped it or brought it down to the studs and rebuild it kind of, to today's standards and how they want it. But as a whole, just think Encinitas, kind of older homes as a whole.
And to kind of give you just a better sense of the four kind of boroughs, four kind of areas in Encinitas, On the northwest side, you've got Leucadia, which is a lot of just those kind of coastal homes. On the south side of that, southwest side, is Old Encinitas, or like downtown Encinitas. And as you head east, you've got New Encinitas, and then you've got Olivenhain. So those are the four main areas of Encinitas, and like Chris mentioned, they're all kind of different price point wise. Your coastal parts of Encinitas are going to be way more expensive than New Encinitas, is where we're at right now. And then as you go out into Olivenhain, the lots get bigger, the houses get bigger, and then the price point is kind of about equal to the coast.
Bigger as well.
Yeah.
It gets bigger out there.
Yep. Next up, things to do. So you're living out here, you kind of want to know what you are going to be doing on the daily or weekly or monthly basis. And Chris touched on one of the main ones before, but beaches are definitely one of the main things that we do around here. Whether it's surfing or swimming, just keep in mind that the water is pretty chilly year round. It does warm up a little during the summer, but I'm a wuss and it's cold to me. So that's just something to think about when you're going to the beach. If you're going to be in the water a while, maybe wetsuit.
Yeah, I wear a wetsuit year round. I don't surf as much as I used to, but when I do go surf, even during the summer times, I'm wearing some sort of wetsuit, whether it be like the long john style where it's just cut off, or like a full kind of 3-2 is how they measure the wetsuits out here, 3 millimeters by 2 millimeters. So it's kind of on a thinner side. Even you can wear that during the winters as well. Another thing about the beaches, it is obviously people go year round, but a lot of times there's only, a lot of times you do have that coastal haze, that coastal fog, that coastal marine layer. So it's going to be a lot cooler. Even from like Olivenhain, if you're living out there, going to the beach, it could be 5-10 degree difference from kind of inland to the coast. So keep that in mind too. Yeah, people do utilize the beaches a lot, but it's not always beautiful and gorgeous like you see kind of in the pictures. And a lot of folks who live in Encinitas, they do have an active lifestyle. So you're either riding your bike a lot, like there's a lot of people who cruising around, like and one thing Encinitas did on bikes, actually, they're trying to make it more usable. So you will find a lot of bike lanes down by the coast. They do have separate bike lanes for that. You can also use the entire lane, most up and down Coast Highway. So they're trying to make it easier, paint like the bike lanes like bright green. I think. Yeah, bright green. In a lot of places, they have down Leucadia Boulevard, they have like a bunch of cones set up, or not set up, they're like drilled in the ground, but all the way going down to separate the bike lane. So you will find a lot of that too. Also running. I love to run. I love to explore this whole area. There's a bunch of trails, but there's also just a bunch of side roads and just exploring neighborhoods, especially when you're thinking about moving out here and looking, maybe not running, but like hopping out of the car, walk around the different neighborhoods and see what they're all about, because you could see so much more just cruising through. Like take one lap around the neighborhood and kind of give it you get that bigger picture and what it might be all about. But there are some little trail systems. So you have Manchester Preserve, you do have a one over by Encinitas Ranch, you do also have the ones surrounding Encinitas Ranch, and then out in Olivenhain there's a lot of horses, a lot of equestrian properties. So there's a lot of horse trails. Well, they're maintained by Encinitas, the city, but they're pretty wide. A lot of people are running. Sometimes you will run by a horse as you're cruising out there. So there's a lot to explore out there. One thing, if you are a runner, ups and downs, there's a lot of elevation changes. So it's not flat. I just was running up in kind of a flat, it was like Santa Ynez, which is central California, or kind of like right, where is it? Like right by Santa Barbara. Anyways, cruise around there, it was fairly flat, so I could run and it was fine. But here, you're gonna go up, you're gonna go down, so just get ready for it.
Also, for those of you who have kids, there's a lot of activities. We're right in the middle of summer, so there's a lot of camps. There's also a YMCA, which has got a skate park, it's got baseball fields, it's got gym, pools, all that stuff, all the amenities you could need. And then you've also got Encinitas Little League here. You've got Encinitas National Little League also. So if your kids play baseball and you're a Little League family, because definitely a difference between Little League and Pony, that's something to think about as well. Another big sport out here too is soccer. So there's a bunch of different options for soccer teams, both rec and club teams. And then also the Botanic Gardens is a great spot. We usually have a yearly membership. It's just a good spot to just go walk around a little bit. There's a bunch of little kid areas and stuff along the way in the Botanic Gardens as well.
And there's a few different events throughout the year as well. So there's like the holiday parade, there's Oktoberfest, there are street fairs where you have live music and stuff down at Coast Highway. Throughout the summer times too, they do have car nights down on Coast Highway. At Moonlight, they just had, what's the event called down there?
Oh, Bro-Am.
Yes, the Switchfoot Bro-Am. So Switchfoot is, well, they're a band, if you might be aware of who they are, but once a year they put on like a fundraiser down at the beach, play a live concert, it's free, cruise down there. It's just like, I think there was like 15 or 17,000 people down there. So it does, yeah, a little bit busy, but free concert right on the beach at Moonlight. It's pretty killer as well. Encinitas too, there's a lot of restaurants and shops. Definitely, you know, Coast Highway is like the main corridor. So downtown Encinitas is where you have a bunch of little brewery tasting rooms. You have a bunch of restaurants, a bunch of new restaurants coming in, bunch of like little kind of vintage shop, not vintage, but like they have some vintage clothing shops and just boutiques, that's the word. Yeah, just a lot to explore down there. So once you get into Leucadia, it's like another whole, I don't know, mile or two of a bunch of other restaurants and shops and all that kind of stuff. And then El Camino Real is like the main jam for super convenience. So you have all the big box stores, Targets and Home Depots, Walmarts, and just anything and everything you need up El Camino Real. And it's all within probably about a 10-minute drive, maybe 15 if you're out in Leavenhagen, of a lot of Encinitas. So I think Encinitas is one of the most convenient spots out of all the cities because you have everything, literally everything you need right down on El Camino Real. So what's nearby Encinitas? A lot of people looking here are also looking potentially in Carlsbad, somewhat similar price points at different levels, or to the south, Solana Beach. So like if you're searching Encinitas specific, be open to those two areas as well because they kind of have similar vibe, similar price points. Solana Beach a little more expensive, Carlsbad a little more affordable. You get a little more bang for your buck up there. But that is something that is super close, and if you're looking here, you're going to be looking there as well.
So the main freeway that goes through Encinitas is the 5 freeway going north and south. And if you're trying to get east from here, you got to go up either to the 78 or down to the 56. But it's pretty quick. There are some cut-throughs through Rancho Santa Fe and all that if you're trying to get out towards Escondido, Rancho Bernardo area also. And you know, traffic is kind of a mess right now on the freeways. They've been doing a lot of construction, but hopefully over the next couple of years that'll kind of be alleviated and it won't be as bad as it has been recently.
And then a lot of the pinch points, so a lot of the on-ramps, off-ramps for the freeways, that's where you're going to get busy, like down down El Camino Real. Well, that's not on the freeway, but down Encinitas Boulevard. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Down Encinitas Boulevard, down Leucadia Boulevard, down Manchester during the mornings and stuff. You will get a little bit more traffic as people are getting on and off the freeways. And as far as work-wise, you're most likely going to travel. There's companies here. There's a few bigger companies here in Encinitas, but for the most part, there's not like a huge kind of corporate center like commercial area like up in Carlsbad or kind of down south, you know, that central area of San Diego. So Encinitas, well, there's a few big companies. There's like one big startup called Flock Freight, which is downtown Encinitas. That's not kind of like what we're known for here.
You'll see a lot of like smaller surf companies or apparel or things like that in Encinitas, but like Chris said, nothing like big, large companies.
Yeah, so the commute might be a little bit depending on where you're going, but since you do have the freeways, like we mentioned right there, it's a quick shot from most parts to get on and off and get to where you need to be. So is Encinitas a good place to live? I always throw it to Cassidy.
Yes.
Yes. But you decide. If you guys have more questions, drop them down below. Or if you're thinking about moving out here, whether it be 1 month or 1 year from now, hit us up, call, text, email, take a screenshot, popping up right around here right now, so that when you are ready to make that move, you could hit us up. We got your back when making the move here to San Diego.